Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 606 on Tuesday, the 12th of November, 2024. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And this week we'll be squinting heavily as we're blinded by some news. In new car news, we really do question one new niche. And in points of interest, we bring possible relief to those peckish whilst on a road trip.
Not that kind of relief.
And we have no follow-up this week, thankfully. We go straight into the new news, and as it's near-ish, or it was last week when we were publishing the episode, it was the start of the month. What does that mean, Alan?
It means the whole world has changed since we last recorded. It's SMMT, new car registration figures for the month of October. Woo! Which is all that until you read that actually the new car market has fallen by 6%. Businesses, fleets, private buyers registering almost 10,000, actually 9,241 fewer vehicles than in the month of October last year. Pretty much everything is down. There's my summary for you. Petrol registration down 14%, diesel down 20%, hybrid electric vehicles down 1.6%, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles down 3.2%, battery electric vehicle registrations are highest number ever in the UK. 29,802 of them, and that's a 24.5% rise.
Yep.
Now, in the year to date, which is the important number, because remember, the government and proctologists decided a percentage market share that electric vehicles have to have before tariffs are levied in the start of next year, has to be 22%. Right at the minute, with 2 months left to run, we are 18.1%.
Now, that is for the entire industry. We have to remember that.
Yes, not individual manufacturers.
Some manufacturers are going to be fine, and others are going to be close, and others are not going to be fine.
But most of them are going to be not fine at all.
So there's going to be, hopefully there isn't fines for them because they'll be trading off other initiatives and the ability to buy credits from manufacturers who have greatly exceeded the minimum number they needed to make.
But one thing that's worth mentioning here, of course, is the reason there aren't that many small EVs is because the fines are so impressive, they're cheaper than selling some of the small EVs.
It's almost a Dacia Spring per fine.
Yes, exactly. Those are the big numbers. The top models list, so the top 10, relatively low numbers as always at the moment. Peugeot 208 is in at number 10 and it's 2,267 units registered. Fractionally ahead at number 9, the MG HS. Number 8, the Nissan Qashqai. We've only climbed to 2,348 units by that point. Number 7, take a drink, the Toyota Yaris. Number 6, the Ford Kuga. And number 5, the Volkswagen Tiguan, 2,477 units. There's only like 210 units between numbers 10 and 5 on the list. Number 4, the Volvo XC40. Number 3, the Mini Cooper. One thing that actually Andrew noticed is that this is being marked as the Mini Cooper. Traditionally, this has just been the Mini anytime we've seen this in the top 10 list. Don't know if this reflects a sort of official renaming change courtesy of BMW and Mini, but just something that was noticed, or somebody's just written that from SMMT. Equally possible, but worth mentioning as a small aberration on the way through here. Number 2, the Ford Puma, 3,521 units, and number 1, the Kia Sportage, 4,533 units. Significant, 1 and 2 significantly ahead of everything else on the list right there.
Yep.
Year to date, by the way, the Ford Puma is just ahead of the Kia Sportage by a little over 300 units.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to be the ones battling it out at the top.
Yep. Right, I'm going to go through the spreadsheet of doom. I'll be quick at this, though. Abarth is down 15%. Audi is down 28%. Just to put that in context, last year, 12,598 vehicles registered. This year, 9,009. BMW equally is not having a great month. They are down 16%. Cupra down 21%.
Funnily enough, we'll talk about these a bit later.
Yes. DS down 63%. Fiat down 27%. Ford, yet again, another bad month, down at 27%. That was 12,119.
We just have to look at the Puma numbers for that. Sorry, when when they actually sold the Fiesta. But now the Fiesta, because there's no Fiesta, it's now spread across all of the others. Again,
well, it's not, is it? Because people who want a Fiesta have gone elsewhere.
That's what I mean. It's spread. The number that used to be just for Fiestas is all across pretty much everywhere else.
Who knew removing small vehicles would harm you? But there we go. GWM Aura is down at 45%. Honda is down at 23%. Land Rover is down 16%. That's the first drop in a while for Land Rover, I think.
It is actually, yeah.
Or a significant drop anyway. Maserati is down 63%. I bet they wish it was 23%. Sorry about that.
The maths is not good this week.
No, it's just the reading is not good. Seat is down 35%. Suzuki is down 55%. Tesla had a really bad month. They are down 64%. So that was 2,677 and down to 971 vehicles.
That's the lowest it's been in a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you have to go back to the time when they only brought them in once every quarter on ships for it to be that low.
Yeah.
Because now they had that Germany plant. They're much more reliable or more consistent.
Well,
more consistent in the numbers that are delivered. Sorry. Vauxhall, like Ford, a real rough month. They're down 46%. Some cheer, please, Alan. Some cheer.
Yes. Well, actually, there's quite a lot of balance. There's a lot of stuff that's in the middle ground. So plus or minus 15% we never bother with in this. Those are our thresholds. And there's lots of stuff this month that's in the middle ground and not really there. On the other hand, there are some brands that have done surprisingly well. Alfa Romeo up 41%, Alpine up 25%, BYD up 326.23%.
Congratulations, BYD.
Exactly. Citroen up 20%, Dacia up 33%, Jeep up 295.4%. I looked that they're really, Jeep and Citroen are really the only sort of significant gains within the Stellantis group of random brands that used to be good. Peugeot is up a smidgen, but everything else other than Citroen and Jeep are plunging. Kia up 24%, Mercedes-Benz up 37%. Skoda up 24%, Subaru up 56%, a whopping 0.1% market share, up from 0.06% market share this time last year. Well done. And Volvo up 28% as well.
Yep. To round out this piece, though, obviously Mike Hawes produced his little statement that he usually does on the news, and it was effectively saying they need financial help from the government is basically what they're asking. They need incentives, they need infrastructure, and they need regulation.
The trouble is everybody needs financial help from the government.
Well, what's really interesting is I'd love to see those who still claim that the cost of an EV is not the major stumbling point for people adopting an EV, and it's in fact people making up stuff on the internet. Because it has been proven time and time again that money is the issue, really. If you can make it financially advantageous, and it is if you have off-street parking and you can charge from home, it is cheaper to run one. But if you don't have those things and you are not wealthy enough to be able to take part in a salary sacrifice scheme, then it is difficult to get into EVs due to the cost. Mm-hmm. For a new EV, sorry, be clear, because I'm bound to get the whatabouteries. Oh, just get nearly new. Yes, of course. If you can do that, great. You get great savings.
Fantastic. Well, I think I said about a colleague asking me about a nearly new i7 the other week, which he bought, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite cool. It was nice because it meant my car wasn't the angriest looking one in the car park for a change.
Right, talking of BMW, let's move on to, and we just have to preface this next section for the I think we'll call this the car industry's in a bit of trouble section.
Yes. Let's try not to dwell too much.
Like last week, we are trying to compress a number of different stories on the same theme into the same section here. I will start with BMW has reported that they have missed their profit expectations as their profit dropped 61% in the third quarter. And that's its lowest level since the COVID years. However, if you are not, as Alan said before we press record, if you are not selling cars because you are worried they will not stop, then you will have a dent on your profits. On top of which, China car sales are lower than people were expecting for BMW, and that is a theme that is going to run very much through this.
Yeah. Another one, by the way, is also the line, the bullet points at the top of this Reuters article, which says, CEO downplays impact of possible Trump win. There's a lot of that right the way through here as well.
Yeah, but so many of the car manufacturers involved have actually got plants in America anyway.
Yeah, this is true.
Because of previous initiatives.
Yeah. Audi profits and deliveries are down in 2024. Bosses say they are positioning Audi in such a way that we can once again achieve the extraordinary. Well done to the marketing department. That is some wonderful BS. Sales down in China, they're down 8.5% to just under 500,000 sales. Europe sales down 10%. Audi is very much in a zone of
uncertainty as well, I think.
With a lot of buyers. Well, we were discussing this before, and it was you who mentioned, well, of course, internally in Volkswagen, they've lost their internal credibility because their mistakes or their behavior was one of the major things that contributed to Dieselgate.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, inside Volkswagen, Audi does not have the clout that it used to have because internal politics.
Yep.
Not looking great there. On the other hand, they have unveiled that they're going to launch an AUDI brand in China.
That's just how they pronounce it as well.
It's just like Audi, but it's all in capitals and it's all spaced out with no things. So they're going to launch that at some point in about 2 years' time or about 2 to 3 Chinese manufacturer model cycles, as one Chinese commentator or China-based commentator pointed out. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, on top of that, though, just to quickly round out the Audi, the group is not doing great either, as there's been a dip in sales across Bentley and Lamborghini as well.
Yeah.
That's caused a drag, because don't forget, the last few years, Bentley and Lamborghini have been far exceeding expectations and doing wonderfully well for Audi. Another thing that keeps being mentioned is the restructuring of the Brussels plant, which apparently they've spent 1.2 billion euros on, but they're about to shut
That's
it. So
the one they're
don't
about to close.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Oh.
I don't get. I don't know if they've put it in now ahead of time. You know, like sometimes,
or if it's restructuring, which means getting rid of.
Yeah. That is also causing a drag on their finances.
Yeah.
Next up, Toyota. And Toyota have had a pretty rough last quarter. Don't forget, as we reported on here, they had safety recall issues combined with Daihatsu. They've also had problems with quality for their truck and the bus unit Hino Motors. There's also, again, in the article that's linked in the show notes from Yahoo Finance, there is talk about Chinese competition. But equally, they've had an issue in the United States you were telling me about, Alan.
Yeah, there's problems with the 3.5-litre twin-turbo units that are in the very good-selling 4Runner, Tacoma, and I think they're in some of the Lexuses as well.
Ouch.
As part of the hybrid things. Yeah, which they're basically, the recall is we're going to put a new engine in.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, it's quite spicy. On the other hand, after the announcement, shares in Toyota rose 1.7%. But that was behind a 2.6% rise across the broader market, so not quite as chirpy as all that. Honda, 15% fall in Q2 operating profit meant it's missed all the forecasts. 29% drop in China, 6% fall in Asia. There's a theme here about being too reliant on the Chinese market. The global vehicle sales overall shrank 1.5% to 2.8 million. I say really losing ground in China because it's kind of mid-market is, of course, losing out to all the new mid-market Chinese brands there. In the US, 9% rise in vehicle sales over the first 9 months of 2024. Not doom and gloom everywhere.
Mm-hmm. But where is doom and gloom everywhere is Nissan. They announced that they're going to cut around 9,000 jobs and slash their production capacity as profits drop 304%. I don't care who you are, that's far too high a percentage number to take remotely relaxed.
Nissan makes me so angry. So angry, because this is practically all their own darned fault.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
That's what makes me so mad about Nissan. This is all management infighting, which in turn has taken away budget and time away from new models. So the model range is not wonderful, certainly not here in the US. It's just, there's an car, or do you want a different an car, or you can have an electric car or an electric SUV. There's just, the genericism is mind-blowing. Don't care about cars? Buy Nissan. That's kind of how it is. Or don't buy a Nissan, lease a Nissan, because nobody buys a Nissan.
Yeah, but just to give you an impression of how much the profits have dropped, gone from £1.8 billion to 753 million. Just wow.
The CEO is halving his salary, so it's all right.
Yeah, but fingers crossed for obviously everybody working in the UK, and that
totally.
Whatever decisions the wonderful management make are not too brutal.
I think people are aware. I've worked with Nissan in the UK, and there are some really great folk there, really good people. Yeah, it just annoys me. It just, the management behaviours annoy me so much.
Well, this is the problem we say with so many of the car brands that we talk about, isn't it? That we know people who are in there, who are working, who are very good at what they do, and yet decisions made much higher up the food chain impact them, and honestly, often just beg a belief.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to, as we try and round out towards, we're getting towards the end of this, don't worry, we're going to move.
Almost done. We've only got another couple of brands to be depressed about.
Yeah.
JLR, quarterly fall in global sales, just as it says in the Liverpool Business News, after announcing its £500 million investment at Halewood. Lots of this is actually down to the floods that we covered a few weeks ago, which has meant there's been an aluminium shortage globally. So actually just getting the materials to build the cars has been a bit tricky. Even I can't sit and point fingers at management for that.
No, we did. Because they put all their eggs in one basket, didn't they?
Yeah, but on the other hand, somebody pointed out they're just not big enough to have multiple baskets. If they split it across stuff, they're not a big enough customer to get the kind of service and everything.
Depends on what your priority is. Is it to keep the factory going, or is it to pay the same price?
This is true.
And that's the decision management have clearly made one way or another. Anyway, sticking with the UK, and this is the news that Lotus is going to cut up to 200 jobs from their Hethel site. They already cut jobs last year and earlier this year, and these are being branded as organizational changes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Consultant puts his Captain Cynical hat on here.
This is the Hethel-based section of the Lotus Group. It deals with the Emira, the Avija, whatever you pronounce that, hypercar, and the Type 135.
It still sounds like a cream for some sort of embarrassing.
I know, it does, doesn't it?
Yeast infection, doesn't it?
And the Type 135 project, which is an electric replacement for the Emira and Elise. There is another section to Lotus, which is Lotus Technology, which is the Chinese-based element, which came up with the Electra, that's the electric SUV, and the Amaya, which is the electric saloon.
I can't help, I'm sorry.
And I'm sad to say, but I fully expect to be saying how that their financial results, which are due on the 21st of November, are down as well when we get to discuss them, because they've not been going well up to now, and they were the reason why they cut the forecast of 55,500 cars being sold globally to just 12,000.
I'm not saying they're not good cars at all, but the trouble is that they're being sold with a Lotus badge on. Well, they're not being sold. That's the trouble. And also, well, the second half of the problem is that they're built entirely in China. So as a result, they just get whacked with tariffs in Europe. They get whacked with tariffs in the US.
Well, if they're in the US, they're just not allowed in, are they?
Basically, yeah.
That's two big markers.
Oh, how upsetting. Last but not least, Rivian. Not a big deal in the UK, but they are increasingly noticeable, certainly here in the northeast of the US. Rivian, however, lost $39,130 for every vehicle it sold last quarter. Now, this is a combination of both the R1T, SUV, and pickup truck, and also what many of us think of as the Amazon van. It's a commercial vehicle platform as well, which Amazon ordered loads of, and then went, actually, we don't want those anymore. They are actually publicly available. I mean, that's quite bad. It's not great. I imagine that they're not completely up the creek because being a completely EV brand, they will have credits to sell. Not great news. Losing $39,130 per vehicle is not great. Lucid, however, is managing a whopping $341,604 per car. That seems not so bad.
It's only because their revenue is a fraction over what the estimates were. That's all this has got to do with, is that.
That's all to do with what some analyst, I want to be an analyst. It just seems you get paid lots of money.
Yeah, you just make up stuff. It doesn't matter.
Making stuff
no
up.
one
Exactly.
cares.
I just go, yes, this is good things.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of them on LinkedIn who are just coming out with nonsense, so why not?
Oh, I can't bother that. By the way, either of those, happily buy them over most other EVs out there, even from established brands.
Well, to round out this in the show notes is there will be a final link to an article from the Autopian that gives a bit of context, US-centric, obviously, but gives a bit of context onto why Nissan, Stellantis and Audi workers are losing their jobs. Please do click on that in the show notes to read a bit more.
Yeah, because there's all sorts of good news from Jeep and all these kind of bits as well. Yay.
Well, Alan, do you want to bring us back to Blighty and something that isn't about a company doing badly with car sales?
Yes. TRL is going to start investigating the impact of bright lights on road users. This BBC article does describe it as being independently investigated, but it is TRL. What they're going to do is equip a car with specialist instruments to measure light levels in the same way drivers experience them. And they're going to try and drive it in different weather conditions and all sorts of things like that, just to find out how dazzled people are by oncoming headlamps and that kind of thing. I have a theory about this. And my theory is that it's not actually to do with the headlamps themselves, nor is it to do with the headlamps from probably many established brands as they leave the factory. I think it's to do with just poorly aimed headlamps as a result of crash damage, or places where quality control means, oh, there's a headlamp, rather than, oh, there's a headlamp and it's correctly aligned. Because I actually think that a lot of this, because frankly, they're not allowed, the headlamps themselves are not allowed to get through the regulations and be built, so they wouldn't be there. I think generally it's either something has happened after the testing, so as tested is not necessarily the same as built. Going back to the Toyota and Daihatsu safety recall story earlier on, and see podcasts pass him. Or the other thing, by the way, is people then swapping out the headlamps for aftermarket units. Again, not aimed properly, not necessarily got the correct certifications, not necessarily pointing things in the right direction. So I think that that's probably where it's coming from, is just wonky headlamps. There's some face pulling going on here.
To a degree, but there is so much anecdotal. It would mean so many cars are accident damaged and there isn't that many Teslas on the road. Just, for example, picking a random...
I never said that.
I
never said Tesla.
Picking a random manufacturer just out of my hat. I think there is some of that, certainly. I do feel that is part of a cause. I also feel the number of taller vehicles does not help, because it is, people are saying there's glare. Where are they getting the glare? Are they getting it from side mirrors? Are they getting it from the rear view mirror? Is it from cars approaching them?
Well, that also is true.
That's the stuff we need to get to the bottom of. And it's good to see that this investigation by Transport Research Laboratory will look at all those aspects. I would also say to your bit about they can't leave the factory and all the rest of it, we've seen that where legislation is in the right area and trying to do the right thing, how it is executed on the road is not always been as successful. Just thinking about ADAS. On paper, it sounds great. In reality, there are some consequences to decisions made for the implementation and the engineering. I think it's a big combination of a load of different things. And also, it's the improvement in technology in bulbs. There is a fine line between not being too bright for people and still being able to see on a country road or even urban roads, because where I live now, the street lights are very poor, but there's an awful lot of youth who decide that the uniform is black with black and extra black. And I'll be held responsible for hitting them, if they just walk out in front of me or something and you just can't see them.
You're wearing a black hoodie and black trousers. You're on a black electric bike with no flipping lights.
But it's the driver's fault.
And then you just go straight off the pavement. And it's just like,
I hope the investigation works out exactly what it is. And I also hope that any amendments are not knee-jerk reactions and they don't take it too far the other way.
Your mirrors point, by the way, that's actually quite an interesting one, because are drivers adjusting their mirrors correctly?
Probably not.
Do they know that there's a dim dip switch on the back of it? Are their side mirrors correct? Because if they're wrong, even if the lights are correctly lined up and set, not ridiculous, then you're pointing the glare back in your face.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of factors there, actually. I think that's quite interesting. I hadn't considered that until you were speaking. Anyway, do you want to tell us all about FISKER? Here's another fun success story to round off the first half.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you to Damien Scully, who sent this to us on Mastodon.
Thank you.
He stumbled over this news item on Talk News, and it is titled, FISKER EVs hired an IT spy who funneled millions to North Korea's missile program, according to Henrik FISKER.
The case is with the FBI.
Yeah. FISKER are in trouble with the SEC. You'll be
FISKER are in trouble.
Shocked. You'll be shocked to hear, considering how they spiraled out of control and when they filed for bankruptcy. The claim is that they unwittingly employed a North Korean agent who then stole money from the company and sent it to the regime in North Korea. And this is in the amount of $6 million.
Do you want some context around this? Because we were chatting pre-show, and I was like, look at this latest excuse. How on earth are they going to do that? That's very risky for North Korea. And you said, actually, I've heard of this happening before.
Yes, very recently for an IT security consultancy and training company, they were in fact hit by a similar style attack, as in they employed effectively a fake employee, someone who was pretending to be somebody they weren't. And they were discovered, and then they were obviously kicked out of the company, etc. But it is possible to do. This is a known play by North Korea. It's a known play by regimes across the globe, but North Korea have been caught doing this recently. That is not to say that I believe or disbelieve what FISKER is saying. It just should be noted that this did come out not so long ago, happening to another company in a different industry.
Yes.
I am sure the authorities will investigate that fully.
Yes, I'm pretty certain they will. In this case, I actually think it probably will be. There's a lot of aspects to investigate.
Yep.
That happily takes us hopping, skipping, and jumping.
It is. We are now.
To Guilt Minute. I know. That's a weight off our shoulders anyway. Quick break in the show where we ask for a tad of financial support to keep the lights on and the hosting running. If you feel that Motoring Podcast is worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, we do completely understand, then you can help us by following for free from our podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show in whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all that, and some of you do, so thank you very much. The last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues.
Thank you, everyone that does. Now, new car news, Alan. Take us to one of the few companies that we didn't mention was having a real rough time.
I know. I think we've got 2 out of 3 is not bad in this section.
Yeah.
Yeah, Suzuki. Suzuki has revealed the first Suzuki EV. It is the e-Vitara, which is keeping the Vitara name to make it familiar to potential buyers.
I think that's wise.
And existing buyers, and then obviously putting E in front because it's electric. No, it is I was going to say existing Vitara, current generation Vitara size and format, basically. It is a small electric SUV. The original preview of this was the EVX concept, and the production version is similar from a distance and a squint, which is better than most manage, but should go pretty well. It's up against the Mini Aceman and the Volvo EX40, but I would expect, well, it is cheaper.
Yeah, but range-wise and stuff.
Range is not great. So it is going to be built in India, and it's, according to this Autocar article, it's expected to follow the Vitara's positioning as a value alternative in its segment. As a result, it's likely to start from under £35,000 UK deliveries beginning next summer.
Yeah, range-wise, they're talking about for the 61 kilowatt hour battery up to 250, but there will be a 49 kilowatt hour battery as well, which won't be that much. So
it's the Vitara, though. Hang on. Let me just make rash generalizations.
Those who buy a Vitara
are not going to be doing long journeys, generally speaking.
No, but that's still pricey for range, because people, it doesn't matter whether you do long range or not, people will look at that and go, hang on, I can get, because an EC3 at 21,000 is not a million miles off that.
No, I know. But it's not, is it all-wheel drive, is it? Is it from a dealership in the next town over? Is it, in a rural area? Is it? There's a lot of things that Suzuki offers as a brand proposition to people in the rural UK that very few others do.
Mm-hmm. Well, only Subaru, really.
Yeah. And even then,
but they're a different price point.
Exactly. And 1.5 times the range, pretty much, of the Subaru. I can't remember what the exact number is for the
Solterra?
Solterra. There we are. To work my way through the weird numbering name things till I get there. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely sub Solterra in that, but again, the mileage isn't a million miles off, and I don't know.
But that's the thing, when you're a smaller manufacturer, you're coming later to these things, and you don't have the money to have jumped over the development cycles that others have had to go through up to now. And I think that's what you can see there.
Yeah, and I think that links neatly into our next story about smaller manufacturers not necessarily going through the development cycles of larger manufacturers.
Bentley is going to launch, according to this Autocar article, an urban SUV in 2026 as its first EV. First of all, that's obviously a delay on what we were expecting, but secondly, what on earth is an urban SUV? For one, you're going to get the anti-car brigade up in arms going, just what we need is more SUVs in our urban roads. But secondly, what that means virtually nothing. But not only that, though, it's going to be the world's first true luxury urban SUV. What?
To me, an urban SUV is like a Yaris Cross or something.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be that small, is it?
It's not going to be that. No, it's not going to be that small because it's a Porsche Macan EV underneath.
Allegedly.
To a greater or lesser extent.
Possibly.
Allegedly. Platform sharing, etc. But if you want an idea of size and a scale, think Macan. There's going to be plug-in hybrid and hybrid versions as well, of course.
They're changing the timescales of the, they call it, the Beyond 100 Plus plan that they announced a few years ago, because everyone's finding the uptake of EVs is not as quick as everyone hoped.
Especially not at the luxury end of the market. So the Continental GTs, the Flying Spurs and stuff, will be offered with plug-in hybrids and internal combustion engines, because frankly, if you're buying many of the buyers of those, then you don't really care if they add an extra little bit more tax on it. There are still going to be internal combustion options for those larger, the proper luxury end of the market, so to speak. But they do need EVs as well, and this seems like a reasonable way. As long as it doesn't cheapen the brand, I think that's the danger, is moving the entry point of the brand that much lower.
Well, Frank Stefan Valliser, who is the new boss who came from Porsche, made it very clear, and this is in the article, that it would be completely wrong for Bentley to develop a model that was anything like one that the Stuttgart-based firm would produce.
Yeah. You can still do that on a shared platform.
Yeah, how do you keep... Well, they share parts through them, don't they? They have done.
Yeah.
You've got to keep the Bentley-ness.
Yes.
Anyway, enough of that. Take us on to something a bit fun.
SEMA has been this past weekend, and loads of manufacturers loads of people have been showing off modified vehicles, and manufacturers are no stranger to that. Kia showed off too. They showed off the EV9 Aventure. It seems like they forgot to order all of the vowels for the name badge. And they
I thought that was very 2020. I thought we'd gone beyond that now, but obviously not.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they also revealed the P5, which is a soon-to-be-released electric van, but the P5 Weekender, which is, well, it's got a roof tent, everyone. It seems to be outdoor camping in the wild electric van thing, which is jacked up with big wheels. It looks really cool.
Yeah, that is absolutely brilliant. But that vehicle just screams of put seats in the back and you've just stolen everything off the Rifter and the Berlingo.
Yeah, so
do it. Please do it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And actually, you'd nick it off the ID Buzz, a lot of it, because of the practicality side of things, how much you can get in there.
You would, yes.
The ID Buzz looks good and is apparently fine to drive, but it is compromised.
It is, yes. It is not as practical as one would expect it to be, it seems. Anyway, those are cool. Obviously never going to make proper production, although you can buy the base vehicles and probably do it yourself if you really wanted to. But it's a good inspiration and nice mood board fodder for people who might want to build a small off-road camper van.
I look forward to a lot of YouTube photographers making stealth campers as they creep up on wildlife in their electric vehicle.
More. I think I sickened myself on tiny home YouTube videos recently.
Okay, points of interest. Finally, we get there. And the lunchtime read is from friend of the show, Nir Khan, and he's explaining a few things here, but primarily the thing he's explaining is what he's now working on, which is really rather interesting, and it's a lovely story getting to the point where he does explain that he's working on lightweight, sustainable vehicles and cars. And there's a new company that has been formed that he's going to be part of and helping to work with. So that's Dynamic Blue Composites. And this is just, obviously, we're big fans of Nir Khan and the work he's done.
He's all right. Pleasant enough guy, I suppose.
The work he's done and his story. But this is great to see, and I cannot wait to see what vehicles they come out with, because it's something we've banged on about for quite a while about how heavy things are, and we need to get to efficient. We need efficiency to be back up there as a real focal point for car manufacturers.
Yes, yeah, agreed. Let's go to list of the week, where we're talking about completely the opposite kind of things.
Yes.
As I said, SEMA show has been in Las Vegas for the last little while. If you've been on most sort of American car YouTube things, there's been some mention of SEMA over the last little bit. Even the off-roaders are getting into it. And actually going through this list, I was looking for any of the Onyx off-road builds, specifically the Robbie Layton post-van one, because it's very cool, but it's not there. There are many in the list, though, of modified show-off vehicles. Now, most of these are absolutely gorgeous and then never really turn too many wheels afterwards. Some of them may look lovely but have no engines. These kinds of things. It is a sort of running gag about SEMA builds, and the paint works lovely, but it's not always quite so deep underneath. But there is still, even if you bear that in mind with all the cynicism you possibly can, there's still some pretty cool stuff on show. Andrew, has anything caught your eye in particular?
Yes, one has. And if ladies and gentlemen at home would like to turn in their pamphlet to slide 10, the Fiat 500 from 1965 that was built in Southport called Project Bruno. This is a Fiat 500 that has got the engine, gearbox, wiring harness and ECU from a Ducati 996 motorcycle. You can buy it if you happen to have $65,000, but this is just mad. And I love the fact that somebody in Britain's gone, no, I want to be part of SEMA. This is what I want to do. And here we go. It's nuts.
Yes, that's incredible. I hadn't really spotted that. That is quite something. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
Amazing. So how about you then?
So mine was far more predictable. If you turn to slide 17 in your slide packs, then we'll find the Toyota 4Runner TRD Surf concept, where someone is by someone I mean Toyota, have taken their new 4Runner. They have welded up the rear doors to make it a 2-door, and they have chopped off the roof.
What was that Nissan that what was the 5-seater Nissan convertible SUV? James May drove it once on Top Gear and said, please no one buy it. This was awful.
I imagine you're not talking about the Murano Cross Cabrio.
It could be that. It could well be that.
This is not a Murano Cross Cabrio, so stop it. Just give over. You're not even vaguely
No, this looks
funny.
much better.
Yeah. So it's got all the usual stuff, body lift, etc. 2.4 litre turbo engine is putting out 278 horsepower, and it has a custom exhaust. I think there will be practically no vehicles there that don't have a custom exhaust. But it just looks really cool, a sort of surf theme. I mean, they're showing it with a surfboard hanging off the back. It's kind of surf theme. A little bit of the old, it looks like there's some LED lights on the top for a little bit of the old Marty McFly look in there as well. I think that's really cool. I really like that. I would drive that. Some of the others, not so much.
Yeah, there's a couple in there that are a bit...
Some of the muscle cars, I just and the resto mods, I just don't get as much. But there's some of
the muscle cars is like, but that's been done before. Is a bit of the problem I have with some of them.
The trouble is, no matter how nice it is, you're still going to go, yes, sir. I find that kind of stuff difficult. It's not my thing.
Yeah, there's 42 slides though to check out. There should be something for everyone.
They range very much from the sublime to the ridiculous. And when I say ridiculous, I mean really ridiculous. I'm at slide 28 at the minute, and you don't get much more ridiculous than that.
Well, that is, jolly silly.
Yes.
Anyway, I will take us on to the and finally. And good news to all those who drive and like Mexican-ish food. Taco Bell is now going to be open in 5 locations on service stations from A roads and motorways. They are going to be on the South Mims. There's one at Folkestone, but they're also now going to be on the A30 in Cornwall, Solstice the A303, and Spalding the A16.
So there you go. If you need some relief, I can't believe Andrew left this one in.
Oh, I'm gonna take advantage if I go near. Absolutely.
Do you know I've had Taco Bell twice since I've been here. I held off for a long, long time, just by reputation. It's not as bad as people make out, in my opinion. But then I don't really know Mexican food, so I don't really care.
Then you see the YouTube chefs go, oh, this is awful, blah. Yeah, but if you're a really very good professional chef, of course you make this food, doesn't matter from what fast food outlet, much better, because you take more time, use fresher ingredients, etc.
Because we all know that Blue Baja Blast is obviously made completely of natural ingredients, possibly organic. In fact, if it contains an organic ingredient, I'll be amazed. But yeah. Taco Bell, service stations, UK, good luck. Take your own toilet paper. Parish notes this week. I'm just going to move off that. Hopefully enjoyed last week's special edition where Andrew was driving some Kia. I think it's a plural. This week, Andrew will be driving a Hyundai and sleeping in it.
Spoiler alerts.
Spoiler alert, yes, exactly. Series of special editions continues unabated.
Mm-hmm.
You poor sods. I might just have oversold that. Before I dig myself any bigger a hole, anything else that I've missed, Andrew?
Just once again, thanking Damien Scully for sending that article in.
Yep.
And if anyone ever sees any interesting articles, particularly lists of the week, But any interesting articles that you think we would cover or would be interested in, please do send them our way.
Yeah, List of the Week's on a bit of a death watch, but we don't know what to do to replace it.
Put your ideas on a postcard and send to You've No Clue, the Motoring Podcast.
Give us a list of your best ideas. Because basically, generative AI has killed listicles. That is the issue, and people are just not publishing listicles anymore.
And the problem is we don't have time to create our own. Because that's the obvious solution.
Yeah.
We just have not got the
solution.
Capacity to do that.
No. Mental, physical, whatever. If you see good lists, not Austin Allegro is the worst car ever type lists, those get instantly banned, then do ping them our way. That would be absolutely brilliant. Please. Have we just crowdsourced our content creation? And next week, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us what color you want us to wrap the wing mirrors.
I did get recommended a video not far off that, to be honest.
Surprise!
So I stopped watching that.
Yes. Don't worry, folks. Next week, we're going to wrap Andrew's car pink, and it will be a surprise and he won't know. Goodness, look at the surprise on his face as he doesn't know as he walks through the door. Anyway, don't forget that between now and next week, you can give us any feedback and share your thoughts and listicles with the show at Motoring Podcast on most of the social platforms and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon. Please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, in the meantime, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is if you search for Crack Windscreen on Mastodon or Blue Sky. I am also on LinkedIn under my actual name. And Alan, if people would like to get in touch with you personally, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm on pretty much all of the non-fascist socials. Best of all is Blue Sky, where I'm at AJP Bradley. That's Bradley. We will be back very soon, but until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.